Kind of scary to see oneself in the video. I'm gonna make some biscuits. I get asked how to make biscuits every now and then. So I thought I would make a video on how to make a biscuit. I've got 2 cups of self-rising flour. This is sunflower brand. I think it came from Alabama. I'm gonna move, but it doesn't matter. If you don't have self-rising, you use all-purpose, but you'll have to supplant with baking powder, baking soda, that kind of thing. You can look up a conversion. I'm gonna add to the self-rising an extra scant tablespoon of baking powder, about a teaspoon. I know I've got a tablespoon here, but I'm measuring out about a teaspoon of salt. Bread needs flavor too. There's a little salt in the self-rising flour, but not enough for my taste. And swirl that around a little bit just to mix those dry ingredients. All right, then I take my trusty grater. Very cold butter. I've got a stick of butter here. Actually, I have 2 half sticks. I don't know why they came like that, but yeah. This is going to be a stick of butter grated into this flour. And then we're going to take a pastry blender. Hey Joshua, you think you could find my pastry blender for me while I'm doing this, please, sir?
What?
My pastry blender. You know, the little thing I make biscuits with. Got the little handle on it. Kind of looks like that ulu knife thing. Yeah. Now, grating the rest of the butter here. Finding the trusty pastry blender. You must have it. Must. It's gonna be in the bottom probably. Right. We've got that butter grated in there. 1 stick of butter. Good job, thank you. All right. Pastry blender. This is a necessity.
After rearranging the whole drawer.
After rearranging the whole drawer in half the house, we found the pastry blender. Now, we'll take this. We got our mound of grated butter in there, and we've got our flour and other dry ingredients, which is just salt and baking powder. I'm gonna take this cold butter and chop it up in here with this pastry blender. Now, if you don't have a pastry blender, walk on over to Amazon there on your phone and type in pastry blender in the little search bar and get yourself one. They is handy for making pastries, biscuits and pastries, so they say. Anyway, the reason you want to use this pastry blender is you want to chop this fat into the flour, making this crummy, they call it a cracker crumb kind of mixture. It makes this crummy mixture that you don't hardly see the fat anymore. It's just chopped up into that flour nicely, evenly distributed throughout that flour. And that's what makes a really fine biscuit, is to get that fat as evenly distributed in there as possible. Now we're going to take our buttermilk. We use 1 cup of buttermilk. Like I said, I got buttermilk, and I had to use a little bit of whole milk to mix with it because I'm out of buttermilk. I'm running low. I had about 3/4 cup buttermilk, 1/4 cup of whole milk, and the measurement on the stick of butter is 1/2 cup. So you got 2 cups of flour, you got a tablespoon of baking powder, you got a teaspoon, scant teaspoon of salt, you got your stick of butter grated in here, and you got a cup of buttermilk that you add into here. Now you don't have to mix this like crazy. In fact, don't mix it. Blend it with the pastry blender. It's very important. When you start mixing this flour, especially after you get the milk in here, the buttermilk, to try to mix this flour, it's gonna become real sticky and glutinous, and you're not gonna get a flaky biscuit. You're gonna get a tough biscuit. You're gonna get a Ellie Mae biscuit. Yeah, Ellie Mae couldn't make a biscuit to save her life. She didn't know me. Alright. Now, we've got to find some hot pads. There they are. Put this cast iron skillet in with a stick of butter at 400 degrees into my oven to preheat the pan. I preheat my cast iron so I can melt the butter in there and have me some grease dispersed on the bottom so I don't stick. But also I want the pan to be preheated so I get a good crust on the bottom. Do that also for cornbread. Now, we're going to form these biscuits up. I'm just going to use a little drop method this morning. We're not going to worry about biscuits being pretty. If I want them to be pretty, I'll roll it out. I put some flour out on the counter and I'll roll this out. This dough is really wet, really sticky. But you ought to be able to handle it okay with the tips of your finger spoon. But I lay those biscuits down there into the butter as I'm forming them. I just take a little glob out. Of course, my hands are washed and cleaned and everything. Take my glob out of there. About the size I think that biscuit ought to be, and then I set it down into the skillet. The skillet's hot. As I set it down in there to get some butter on the bottom of it, it'll kind of form it up on the bottom, and then I can flip it up and then keeps it flat. And they don't look all like a dirt clod in the pan. This is the less beautiful part of all this, but one of the more important parts. Getting some butter on the biscuits on both sides. Some of that melted butter from the pan. And then now I got biscuit dough all over my hands. I'm gonna turn my phone around here. Get a look at this. Alright. That's the spooned out method of forming up biscuits. Now we're gonna put them back, put that pan back in the oven and let these biscuits cook for about 20-25 minutes until they're good and golden brown.